Welcome to Public Domain Video Theater presented by the great detectives of old-time radio. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham. If you have a comment, email it to me, box13@greatdetectives.net. Now it's time for another episode of Dragnet. The original air date is May the 13th of 1954. It was based on a radio play that was originally broadcast April the 12th of 1951. This is Season 3, Episode 37, The Big Threat.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
It was Tuesday, October 8th. We were working the day watch out of robbery division. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Captain Didion. My name's Friday. A middle-aged businessman had been robbed and beaten senseless. The hold-up men had escaped. The victim refused to report the crime. We had to investigate. Wonder where he is. I don't know. It sounds like somebody around back there, doesn't it?
Yeah. Hey, look at these, Joe. Sure had a lot of students.
Yeah.
They seem to like him. Look at the smile on that guy.
Yes, sir?
You Louis Butler?
Yeah, that's right. Can I help you?
Police officers, Mr. Butler. I'd like to talk to you for a minute if we could.
Is your name Friday?
Yes, sir, that's right. This is my partner, Frank Smith. How do you do?
How do you do, sir? I'm sorry, Sergeant. I told you on the phone. I just don't want to talk about it.
We'd appreciate it if we could have your cooperation. It's a pretty important matter.
I'm the only one concerned in it as far as I can see. I just as soon forget the whole thing. Besides, I got a pretty busy day ahead of me.
I'd like to straighten you out, Mr. Butler. This concerns a lot more people than just yourself. We're not going to take much of your time. Just a few questions, that's all.
I told you on the phone, Sergeant, I don't want to talk about it. Now, can't you just forget about the whole thing, please?
It'll only take a few minutes, sir.
All right. You want to come back in the kitchen and just fix myself some lunch?
Yes, sir.
The place a little messy, I guess. My wife's overstaying with her mother. Just trying to fix myself some lunch. Care for something to eat?
No, thanks.
No, thanks.
Sit down if you want. All right, Pepper, I'll feed you. Come here, baby.
Sure is a cute cat. The Persian?
A little bit, I guess. It's my wife's cat. I don't like cats. There you go, Pepper. That'll hold you for a while.
Look at that, Joe. God laughs up that milk.
Yeah.
Gonna have to make it fast, Sergeant. I got an appointment downtown.
All right, we'd just like to have you elaborate on what Dr. Hart told us. Is he your family doctor, by the way?
Yes, sir, that's right. Now, he had no business calling you in the first place. I told him I didn't want him to get out. What'd he tell you?
Well, he said you came to him for treatment the night before last. You told him you'd been beaten up and robbed. He treated you for cuts and bruises about the head and face.
No, it wasn't anything. It didn't amount to anything.
But was there actually a robbery, Mr. Butler?
Believe me, Sergeant, it didn't amount to anything. I don't even want to go into it.
How much did the robbery involve? Money, I mean.
Look, I'd rather not say. I don't want any fuss made about it. That's why I didn't report it. It just isn't worth it to me.
We understand the holdup men took more than $800 from you. Wouldn't you like to get that money back?
I don't want to be nasty about this thing, but I was the one who was held up. Now, if I don't want to press the case, I don't see why anyone else should worry about it. It was my money, wasn't it?
How about the beating the thieves gave you?
Well, it was nothing serious. Look, it's like I told you on the phone. I want to forget about the whole thing.
Now, it must have involved more than just a few scratches, judging from the looks of you there. The doctor had to treat you.
Look, take my word for it, will you? I'm all right. I don't want to press charges.
We'd appreciate it if you could give us some kind of an explanation, Mr. Butler.
Why? I don't want to bother, that's all. There's nothing to explain.
You'll have to admit it's a little unusual. Someone beats you up, slugs you, takes $800 from you, and you don't want to do anything about it.
Oh, Sergeant, you're going to have to excuse me a minute. I got one of my accordion students down the hall in the practice room. It's almost time for him to go. I have to give him his lessons for next week, all right?
Sure, you go right ahead, sir.
It'll only be a minute.
How about that, Joe?
Yeah.
Seems like he's scared to death, huh?
Well, somebody sure gave him a good working over, judging from the looks of him.
Something awful phony about it.
And he's not going to be much good to us unless we can talk him into a crime report.
Somebody got to him. I'll bet on it.
No hope. Not a bit of hope in the world. You know what I'm going to do with that boy?
What's that, sir?
Well, that boy in there, he can't play accordion with one hand. His right hand is fine. The left hand can't do a thing with it. He just won't work on it, that's all.
Yes, sir.
I've been thinking it over, officers. I'm sorry you had to come out here. Got all this trouble. I just as soon forget the whole thing. Don't even want to talk about it if you don't mind.
We don't mean to high pressure you, Butler, but we'd like some kind of an explanation.
Can't you understand? I just don't want a big fuss about it. Now, I'd like to have you go along with my feelings in the matter, please. It's my affair, isn't it?
No, it's ours, too. Half a dozen people like yourself have been beaten up and robbed in this area, all in the last 5 weeks. Now, if we can find the thieves, we can put a stop to it. We can make sure the same thing doesn't happen to your neighbors.
Well, they're going to have to look out for themselves. I'm not getting tied up in a big investigation. The neighbors don't worry about me.
I'm afraid it goes a little further than that.
Huh?
You've been beaten up and robbed once. How do you know it isn't going to happen again?
Well, it's not, that's all. I'll make sure it doesn't.
How? What's going to stop the same thieves from knocking you over again?
Look, officer, if it's all the same to you, I want to forget about this. I'm going to have to be running along. It's getting late.
Now, one more thing, Butler. When the doctor was treating you the other night, this Dr. Hart, he says you told him that you knew who the hold-up men were. Is that right?
Well, no, he got it all mixed up. I didn't mean it that way.
How did you mean it?
Look, I'm in a funny position. I just can't explain, that's all. I can't take the chance.
Did the hold-up men threaten you?
I can't talk about it. Now, give me a break, will you?
You're making a mistake, mister. You play ball with those thieves and they'll ruin you.
Well, it's not only me. It's my family, too. I'm not going to take the chance.
If they threatened you and your family, you're taking more of a chance keeping quiet about it. They'll bleed you white, blackmail, robbery, anything they can think of. It's happened before.
Can't you see the spot I'm in? I know who they are. I know what they can do. I got a wife to think about. Now, would you fellas put your families in that position?
You're buying protection from a couple of hoods, sir. I'll figure it out. How much is it worth? How far can you trust them?
If you pick them up, they'll know I told you. Now, I don't want anything to happen. Can't you see that? I haven't any choice. Now, what else can I do?
Help us put the thieves where they belong. You'll have all the protection you need till they're locked up.
Oh, that's a big order. I don't know.
You and your wife will be under 24-hour guard. Now, that's a promise.
How long would that have to go on?
Long enough to bring them to trial, convict them. How about it?
Well, they warned me about telling the police. They said they'd get both of us if I did, me and my wife. They meant it, too. They'd get us. Now, what can you do about it?
Get them first. After another hour of talking, we finally persuaded the robbery victim, Louis Butler, to come downtown with us. He dictated a full statement about the holdup and filed a crime report. He told us that he'd been robbed and slugged late at night a few blocks from his music studio. $820 had been taken from him by two bandits, both of whom were armed, both of whom he recognized. He said one of the men was a Marvin Carter, a former bartender at a neighborhood tavern. The other was Ralph Quincy, a merchant seaman. We went across the street and met with Deputy District Attorney Fred Henderson. The next day, the case was presented to the grand jury and a true bill was returned. The two suspects, Marvin Carter and Ralph Quincy, were indicted on one count of armed robbery. That afternoon, both of them were booked at the main jail and then released after posting the required bail of $10,000. 4:30 p.m. Frank and I went back to the office and met with Captain Didion.
Hi. I'm making out a...
Pretty fair shape, Skipper. The arraignment's set for 2 weeks from Thursday.
How about protection for the victim?
It's all set. Butler and his wife are under 24-hour guard. 3 teams of men on it.
Those two thieves getting out on bail isn't going to make it any easier. Who are you working with from the DA's office?
Henderson, he thinks we've got enough to convict both men.
What makes him so sure?
Well, for one thing, we got a pretty good line on a couple of witnesses to the holdup. Lincoln. Robbery Friday. Oh, hi, Mike. No, hold on. It's right here. For you, Skipper.
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah, Mike. No. No, I'll check on him before I leave. Right. Now, what about the witnesses?
Man by the name of Bartlett runs a drugstore. He and his son were in the neighborhood when Louis Butler was held up. They're supposed to have spotted the two thieves running from the scene.
Have you talked to him yet?
Just over the phone. We got an appointment with them at 6 o'clock tonight. Take their statements.
I guess I don't have to tell you. Stay as close to this thing as you can. If we miss this time, we may not get another chance. You know as well as anyone how tough it's been reaching these thieves.
Yeah, we wouldn't be this far along if Butler didn't decide to cooperate and file charges.
I wish I knew how many victims there are in this thing, just like Butler. People we don't even know about. So scared to death they don't dare file charges.
I'll bet there's a dozen of them anyway.
I can't figure it. People hire a police force on salary to protect them and their property, then they turn around and try to make a deal with a bunch of hoods, buy them off. How far you gotten on the holdup gang?
How do you mean?
The two men you got tabbed, Carter and Quincy. Is there anyone else working with them?
Well, it's possible. We're not sure yet. Both Carter and Quincy have juvenile records. That's about it. We're still checking on them.
Robbery, Didion. No, this is Didion. Yeah, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
They did, huh? Yeah, I'll tell them. They're right here. Thanks. They've started already.
How's that?
The victim, Louis Butler. He got a phone call at his house a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
Figure he's one of the hold-up gang. They gave Butler a choice.
What'd they say?
Either he drops the charges or they'll kill him.
5:30 p.m. Captain Didion issued orders that the two suspects in the case, Marvin Carter and Ralph Quincy, be placed under 24-hour surveillance. An additional team of men was assigned to guard Louis Butler. Each officer was carefully instructed to take all possible precautions to prevent the robbery victim and his wife from being harmed in any way. 6 p.m. Frank and I met with the two witnesses to the holdup, a drugstore proprietor, Sam Bartlett, and his teenage son, Harold. They told us that they'd been in the immediate vicinity the night Butler was robbed, and that they'd gotten a good look at the two gunmen as they ran from the scene of the holdup. Bartlett and his son, Harold, identified the suspects as Marvin Carter and Ralph Quincy. Statements were taken, and both witnesses were warned to maintain absolute secrecy about their part in the case. 6 days went by. Thursday, October 17th, 8 a.m. We checked into the office and found the message waiting for us.
Frank?
Yeah?
Got something here.
What is it, Joe?
The druggist's son, Harold Bartlett?
What about it?
They found him in an alley, 3 o'clock this morning.
Yeah.
Slugged and beaten.
Late that afternoon, Frank and I received permission from the doctors to visit briefly with our witness, 17-year-old Harold Bartlett. His injuries were painful but not critical. The beating he'd received was nothing less than brutal. His left forearm had been broken, and he'd been beaten viciously about the face and chest. He told us that he was on his way home from a neighborhood movie just before midnight when the two men jumped him from behind on a deserted street.
It was about that robbery my father and me saw. The one you talked to us about last week.
Yeah, what'd they say about it?
They said, maybe this will help you keep your mouth shut. Stay out of the people's business. They said that a couple times. Said a lot more had happened to Dad and me if we went to the police. If we were witnesses at that trial.
Do you remember if the men called each other by name, son?
No, I don't. I don't remember anyway.
Now, son, you remember when we talked to you and your father last week, we told you to say nothing about the case to anyone, you remember?
I remember, officer. I guess it's my fault.
Well, did you tell other people you were a witness in the case? Did you mention it in public?
I guess I did, yeah. Didn't think it was that important. Guess I talked about it quite a bit. I'm sorry, it's my fault.
Oh, that's all right, Hal. If you'll remember it from now on, it'll save a lot more trouble.
I'll remember, officer. Those two men last night scared me for a while. Guess most of us talk, though, huh?
How do you mean, Hal?
When they were warning me about going to the police, they said they'd kill me and Dad if we were witnesses.
Mm-hmm.
They were probably just trying to scare us, huh? They were fooling?
Well, you had a sample last night, son.
Yeah.
Were they fooling? After we left Harold Bartlett, we went back to the office and arranged for a 24-hour guard to be assigned to the teenage boy and his father. A thorough investigation of the attack on the boy failed to turn up any leads. On the surface, the two robbery suspects, Carter and Quincy, were not involved. During the week that followed, we heard of no further threats or attacks either on the victim, Louis Butler, or the witnesses involved in the case. Frank and I worked with Deputy District Attorney Henderson preparing the case against the two suspects. 2 days before the trial opened in Superior Court, we got a phone call.
I'll get it. Robbery, Smith. Oh, yeah, Tom. Well, when did it happen? Are they sure? I see. Okay, fine. Yeah, I'll talk to you. Thanks, Tom.
What's the trouble?
Couldn't be worse. No victim.
What do you mean?
Mr. and Mrs. Butler. They disappeared.
Wednesday, November 6th, 9 a.m. The trial of robbery suspects Marvin Carter and Ralph Quincy opened in Superior Court, Department 88. The complaining witness, Louis Butler, failed to appear. For 2 solid days, we'd been busy checking all of Butler's friends and relatives in the city. They couldn't help. Each time the Butlers had left their residence, they'd been under surveillance. We had an understanding with them that in the event that they were in their automobile and for some reason the officers assigned to them lost them in traffic, the Butlers would immediately return to their home. On the night of November 3rd, under the pretext of going to a neighborhood theater, the Butlers made a right-hand turn from a left-hand lane of traffic, so it became obvious they were trying to elude the officers following them. A check was made at their home as prearranged, and they failed to return. When they failed to appear for the trial, a bench warrant was issued by Superior Court for the missing couple. Deputy District Attorney Henderson asked the court to grant a delay in order to find the Butlers. It was granted. In the meantime, we'd gotten out a broadcast and an APB. Missing persons detail helped out in the search. Still no sign. Tuesday, November 12th, 11 a.m. Deputy District Attorney Henderson phoned us from the Hall of Justice.
Yeah, Fred. When was that? He did, huh? Okay, thanks.
What do you have to say?
Well, the attorney for Carter and Quincy asked the court for a dismissal. No complaining witnesses.
The judge rule on it yet?
Yeah. Case dismissed.
No matter how guilty the two men might have seemed, there was nothing further anyone else could do. Without a complaining witness, our case was finished. In a few days, Quincy left town for the east. Carter remained in the city. The search for Mr. and Mrs. Butler went on. No sign of either one of them. December came, and then the Christmas holidays, New Year's. On January 16th, Louis Butler suddenly reappeared back in town and surrendered on the bench warrant. They explained to the judge that because of the numerous threats on their lives just before the trial, they were afraid to appear, and that they had left the state without telling anyone. The judge gave them a lecture and a warning and dismissed charges. Another month passed, February, then March. On April 2nd, we got word from Denver, Colorado, that one of our former robbery suspects, Ralph Quincy, had shot and killed a 24-year-old policeman while attempting a robbery in that city. Quincy was tried and convicted of murder and received a life term. In the meantime, we'd heard little or nothing about the other former robbery suspect, Marvin Carter. Another 2 months passed. The spring months wore on into summer. Monday, July 8th, 8 a.m. I checked in for work as usual.
Hi, good morning. Hi, Joe.
What's doing?
Can't you see?
What are you doing there?
I'm breathing. Breathing.
Yeah, I can see that, but what are you doing with your medicine?
Getting rid of it. Joe, something wonderful has happened.
What's that?
Remember when I used to have these pains up here when I was just on fire in my chest?
Yeah.
Well, got a new idea.
What's that?
Breathing. If you just breathe deeply, it's all gone.
Well, how do you base that? On what?
Guy I listened to in the morning coming in the car on the radio.
Who's that?
I don't know his name. I just punched button number 3, and there he is. Gotta try it. It's really great.
I breathe.
You don't breathe, Joe. You gasp for air. Everybody gasps for air. A little breathing like that.
I breathe automatically, just like everybody else, and so do you.
You're just like everybody else, Joe. You won't listen. You breathe like that, makes you tingle all over. I got Faye doing it. You ought to see her just floating around the house all day long. Try it sometime. You ought to listen to this guy. You have a radio in the car?
Yeah?
Listen to him coming to work. This guy keeps on that radio, and he and I keep breathing. Not going to have any trouble at all.
You don't know his name, huh?
No, he's been on about 15, 20 weeks, I guess. Doing a good job. He's got 19 people supporting him at different times.
What do you mean, 19 people supporting him?
I don't know, sponsors or whatever you call them. Must be doing a good job.
Yeah, how long has he been on?
Oh, about 20 weeks.
And he's had 19 different sponsors?
Well, that's pretty good. Try it, Joe. Makes you tingle.
Yeah, well, you keep right on breathing. I guess everything will be all right. You sure you don't need the medicine anymore at all, huh?
Well, it doesn't feel any different, but he said get rid of it.
You mean you still have the pains and you're throwing all the medicine away? That's kind of silly, isn't it?
Joe, look, that's the psychological approach. If I still had the medicine here, I'd be depending on it, wouldn't I, subconsciously, because I know it was there?
I guess you would.
Get rid of the medicine. It's up here. This is where it starts. It's all in your head. That's what he told me. He said, there's fire in my chest. He said, you couldn't be on fire in your chest. He said, there's nothing in there but lungs. How could you be on a fire? Breathe.
Morning.
Hi, Skipper.
What are you doing, Smith? Throwing all your medicine away?
Yep. Got no use for it anymore. I'm breathing.
Yeah. Got something here for you. Hold up victim. Man named Sheridan came in late last night and filed this crime report. Here, take a look.
Let's see, Joe.
You can notice there it happened in the same area where we had that rash of holdups last fall.
Yeah, I see. Victim robbed and beaten.
Suspects used the same approach, the same M.O., followed it right down the line.
Yeah. Victim warned not to contact police. Bodily harm threatened if victim did so.
How about the descriptions of the holdup men here? Victim pretty sure about them?
Gaffney handled the report. The victim said he got a good look at one of the thieves. Gaffney gave him a bunch of mugshots to look at.
Yeah.
Here's the one he picked out of the lot.
Thanks. Take a look, Joe.
Yeah. Marvin Carter. As soon as the robbery report had come in, an immediate check had been made of Marvin Carter's last known address, an apartment in the West Pico district. The landlord revealed the suspect had moved at least 2 months before. We got out a broadcast and an APB on him. Together with Sergeants Gonzalez and Laverty, Frank and I started on a systematic check of all of Carter's known friends, relatives, or associates. After that, we started on the places he was known to frequent: hotels, bars, restaurants. No luck. 2 weeks went by. There were no further reports of robberies where the M.O. of the criminal matched that of Carter's. Tuesday, July 26th, 2 p.m. We got a call from one of our informants, a Bertie Simmons. He told us he might have some information for us. He said it concerned Marvin Carter. We drove out to Simmons' rooming house on Hill Street, just below 12th.
You'll have to excuse the room, Sergeant. I had to move from that other place. Things haven't been going too good for me.
That's all right, Bertie. What's the matter? No luck with the horses?
Oh, yeah, a lot of luck. It's all bad. There's a pig in the race. I have to bet on him every time. Getting so I can't even pick him to show anymore. I don't know.
What else is new with you, Bertie? No job yet?
No, but I'm still looking around. I've been down around some of the joints. South Main, you know, and Alameda. I'm keeping an ear to the ground.
Would you like a fresh one, Bertie?
Oh, say, that's awful kind of you. Thank you.
What have you heard, Bertie? Anything that might help?
Marvin Carter? You're still looking for him, aren't you?
That's right. He rumbles?
I heard it last night, having a beer downtown. I knew you fellas were in a little bind on the thing.
What was this you heard about Carter?
He's still in town. There's a place down by Venice, near the beach.
Uh-huh.
But Carter's been seen there once or twice lately. It's a little seafood joint. Beer and clams, down by the beach.
Is that somebody's story or the real thing?
What's the real thing, Sergeant? You know me better than that. No phony leads from me.
Where's Carter supposed to be staying down there, do you know?
Well, I do and I don't, I guess.
What do you mean?
This mooch who told me about Carter last night, he didn't know the address, but he described the place Carter's supposed to be hiding out in. I know the joint he means.
But you don't know the address, huh?
No, but I can point out the place he means. It's a shack right along the Speedway down there, down by the beach.
You sure about all this, Bertie?
Well, you know me better than that, Sergeant. I know the place. I'll point it out for you.
You want to run down there with us now?
Well, sure. I'll point the place out for you. I'm not going near it, though.
Why do you say that?
I don't want to mix with it, that's all. I got the word.
What do you mean?
Carter. Won't be an easy one to take.
How do you know?
You still got a gun.
2:55 p.m. Along with our informant, Bertie Simmons, Frank and I drove down to the beach town of Venice. Bertie pointed out a wooden frame cottage where Carter was supposed to be hiding out. While Bertie waited for us, Frank and I checked it out. There was no one at home, but there was plenty of evidence inside the cottage that Carter was living there. I went back down the street to where we parked our car. I kept an eye on the cottage while Frank got to a phone and called the office.
It's pretty down here, huh, Sergeant?
Yeah, it's a nice day.
Yeah, I don't get out in the air enough. I think that's my trouble. Some of this good ocean air makes you feel like a million.
Yeah.
See, did you notice the place where your partner went to phone? Down the street there?
Yeah, what about it?
Beer and clams. They specialize in it. Best in the city. I know, I've been there. Only great. Good beer for a dime. Fresh clam. Oh, there's nothing better. You like clam?
Oh, yeah, they're all right once in a while, I guess.
Oh, say, here comes your partner back there. So what am I going to do if you two have to wait here all night?
We'll get you back to town, Bertie. We'll figure out something for you. Frank, you get all the captain?
Yeah. Marvin Carter was picked up downtown 20 minutes ago.
Yeah?
Yeah. Driving a rented car. Traffic unit picked him up.
Will they tab him on his description?
No, not at first. The reason they noticed him was because he was double parked on a busy street. They pulled him over and got a better look at him, and that did it.
Any trouble with him?
No, not at all. Got him booked at Main Jail.
Yeah, it's sure too bad, isn't it?
What do you mean, Bert?
Well, it's your case, isn't it? How long you fellas been working on it?
Just about a year, I guess, huh, Joe?
Just about, yeah.
Oh, gee. Coming all this way for nothing. You're ready to make the pinch and somebody else does it for you. Well, must be disappointing, huh? All that time and all that work.
Oh, I don't know. Carter's in jail. That's the main thing. Well, we better get back in, huh, Frank?
Yeah.
Say, let's face it. No use coming all this way for nothing. Yeah, I wonder if you'd do me a favor.
What's that, Bert?
That place down the street there.
Which?
Where you made the phone call. They sell beer and clams. I wonder if you could drop me off right in front. Best beer and fresh clams in town there.
Yeah, Bert, all right.
Yeah, sure nice of you. Just like I was saying, you know.
What's that?
It's no use coming all this way for nothing.
On October 29th, trial was held in Department 89, Superior Court of the State of California, in and for the County of Los Angeles. In a moment, the results of that trial. The suspect was tried and convicted on 3 counts of first-degree robbery, which is punishable by imprisonment in the state penitentiary from 5 years to life.
Welcome back. At the start of the episode, Louis Butler is asking that this just be up to him, that it was his decision since he was the one who was robbed, and it didn't affect anyone else. Though, of course, later on we learned that it did. Ultimately, the decision to duck out and to not testify led to the death of that young police officer in Denver. They made the point, but they didn't try and hammer it in, and I think that approach definitely works here. And overall, this is a good episode that shows some of the difficulties that police face when you're dealing with criminals with connections who can intimidate witnesses. Now, one thing I should note, and many may have noticed, is the title card for this episode does not actually match the episode itself. It is from 1958, at which point Friday had been promoted to lieutenant. My only thought on how this might have happened is if the person who discovered this episode couldn't find the title card part and then just mashed on an existing title card and chose the wrong one. It's hard to imagine how else this got mismatched. I actually thought for most of the episodes we weren't going to get the comedic interlude because this was based on a Ben Romero script and didn't really have that in there originally. But we get probably one of the better ones, and it's one where you can definitely tell that Jack Webb's having fun at it and gives some great smiles. And I really, really like the other policeman who's just kind of in the background, but then it's revealed that he's into the whole breathing thing too. That was just classic. This also features the only appearance of Howard McNear in Dragnet. It's a little weird because McNear was such a mainstay in Los Angeles-based radio productions, so you would have thought he would have appeared on the radio show. But no, out of more than 550 different Dragnet television and radio broadcasts between 1951 and 1959, this episode is his only appearance. And he does a good job and is thoroughly entertaining, even if he's not able to actually help solve the case. At least he gets his beer and clams. All right, well, that's all for now. Join us back here next time for another episode of Public Domain Video Theater. In the meantime, send your comments to box13 at greatdetectives.net. Follow us on Twitter at Radio Detectives and become one of our friends on Facebook, facebook.com/Radio Detectives. And if you like these videos, you can become one of our patrons at patreon.com/Radio Detectives. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham, signing off.